Guys, what up fam, welcome back to a brand new video. Never really talked about this. Never thought I'd be ready to talk about this. Actually, I've wanted to talk about this for a while, for a long time, but I never knew what to say. And I didn't feel like burdening the audience, you guys, with my problems. But after a while, and after hearing what happened at Chester and Lincoln Park and Chris Cornell, Soundgarden, all these guys, made me realize that it could help a lot of people if I talked about this. So a lot of you know my third deployment. Well, my first deployment, I went out to see Operation OEF, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, 2000 and 2012. That was my first deployment. Went to the Persian Gulf. We were out at sea for 9 months. I got MRSA, so I got really sick. MRSA is not something you get, it's like staph infection. It's not something you get from being non-hygienic or dirty. It's something that some people just get on the ship. It's like getting double dragon on the ship. It's just one of those things that thrive on a ship environment. And the way I got it was through my boots. I worked on the flight deck, like a lot of you know, for anywhere from 12, 13, 14 hours a day. And I had, I guess, a cut, or chafing, a cut that developed through my boot, my flight deck boots. And the MRSA got in through there. And basically I was really sick for a couple weeks. Happened twice, different couple weeks at a time during that first deployment. So everything was all good, everything was dandy. I was SIQ for a while. I had to go get an IV the second time because my body was fighting the antibiotics and the medicine. I was in medical getting an IV for a while. But yeah, everything was all good. After I got back from my first deployment, found out I was getting transferred to Japan, Atsugi, Japan. So I moved over to Japan for my last 2 years in the Navy. Went on a 3-month cruise, and then we came back for 2 weeks. Went on another 3-month cruise. So in between that 2-week break, I got impetigo. I've talked about this before, but basically impetigo is a form of MRSA. And I got all these, you guys can look it up, I'm not going to show you any pictures or anything, it's pretty brutal. It's very, very brutal. But my whole face was covered in like lesions and open scabs, like pus, disgusting things. So I contracted, I got that during that 2-week break period in between my first 3-month deployment, came back for 2 weeks. Then we went out to sea for another 3 months. So I had the impetigo. I was stuck in my room for like a week straight. Couldn't leave my room. No one was even like bringing me food or anything. That kind of sucked. But basically, it's super contagious. It's very, very painful. I couldn't even open my eyes without any pain. My whole face had these scabs with stuff coming out of them, and just incredible pain. Basically, they wouldn't even let me stay on the beach. I was one of the only few people with a qualification called LSE, Landing Signalman Enlisted. I was one of the few ones in my squadron that had that qualification and that had the experience to launch and recover the helicopters off of the flight deck. So they made me, I like begged them to please, like, can I stay and get better? This is excruciating pain. I didn't tell them at the time that I was depressed, but somebody like me to get impetigo and to get isolated with no help, that was like the worst thing that could ever happen. I was super self-conscious at the time. And just having stuff covering my whole face, like huge blisters and scabs. It was terrible and extremely painful. So they denied my pleading. I never went up to the, thinking back on it, I should have went up to the CMC, the Command Master Chief. I could have asked the CMC, or our skipper had an open door policy. I probably could have gone and talked to him, but basically I just, talked to my chief at the time. And he was like, nah, miner's like, we need you. Like, I'm sorry this is happening, but you're gonna have to go on the ship and be SIQ until you get better. Like, we need you to recover these aircraft, out there on the ship. So we go out to sea again. They throw me in my rack. I had a bottom rack, and they throw me in there, and I'm SIQ in the rack 23 hours a day. 23 out of the 24 hours, I'm in my rack, isolated. No one can come around me. I couldn't even leave the compartment. My face was still completely covered in blisters and scabs for the first 2 weeks of that deployment. So not only was I shoved in my rack alone for pretty much 24 hours a day in a little coffin rack. I'm 6'4", I'm a big guy, and I was, just curled up. But I had to have people bring me food from the galley, lunch and dinner. Sometimes they would forget, breakfast, but at this point I didn't even really care. I was just like, dude, I didn't care at all. And that's when I first started realizing that I had depression, or that I was depressed, or that I was like slipping into something really bad. Being isolated on the first place, people get depressed anyways in the military just from being away from home. And that was never an issue for me. When I was getting sick and when this stuff was happening, I'd been in for 3 years already. I was E4, about to be E5 in a couple months. Or no, was I E5? I was in E5 at the time this was happening, because this was around my 3-year mark. So I started getting really depressed. I was isolated for 2 weeks, so it wasn't until after 14 days of being in my rack 24 hours a day SIQ that I was finally clearing up, and the nurse doctor was like, all right, you can get back to work. You can go out of your rack. So that's when the hard part started getting really hard, because they cleared me to, the Empentigo had cleared up. It had been like 3 weeks since it had started back on the beach, 2 weeks on the boat, but it still wasn't cleared up. It wasn't pussing as much anymore, but I had huge scabs all over my face. Think about like people that have acne, like severe acne, but worse, and way worse. So I was working in my work center, in my compartment, trying to get back out there and do my job. And it was humiliating, because not only would I, get teased about it, that I had no control over, but it was just, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror, and became really depressed. I found out, once I got out in 2014, 2015, that I had major depression disorder, and some other things, with OCD tendencies, stuff like that. I've been on and off medication for the past couple years, and recently just started some new stuff to try to help, and some sleeping stuff to help with nightmares and whatnot. But wanted to talk to you guys and tell you guys about this and what I've been going through and how I feel, because like, I found YouTube basically. I found creating videos and doing YouTube and talking to you guys and helping people and being entertaining, trying to make people laugh, trying to be funny, helps me huge amounts. Huge. So before I even got out of the Navy though, once I got back from that first deployment, you guys know that huge stigma in the military about depression and being weak and yada yada. So obviously, I kept everything to myself. I powered through everything. I never quit. I tried to, keep my head up and work hard every day, but I was really freaking suffering inside. If you ask my friends in Japan at the time, my last couple months in Japan after I got back from that deployment where all this stuff happened, I hardly came out of my room, isolated myself even more, would just go from straight to work to my room to the pool. A lot of you guys are like, JT, how do you swim so good? I taught myself the freestyle stroke because I found solace in swimming. We had a really good swimming pool at Atsugi in the gym, a really nice lap pool. So every day after work, go straight to my room, not talk to anybody, go straight to the pool. I would swim for an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. I was at a point where I was swimming 20, 30 laps straight. I was swimming like a mile at a time, not stopping, just non-stop, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was able to get through that depression and the problems I was, having at the time. I wasn't on any medication or anything. Nobody really knew. No one knew. I didn't tell anybody about it. But I found solace in swimming and just tiring myself out so much. And swimming was, I ended up loving swimming. I actually want to get back into it now that I talk about it. I should be swimming a lot. I want to swim a lot more. So I'm going to be doing that a lot more. But anyways, I found that, got out of the military, 2015, started, finally tried to get help because once I got out, I was out of the Navy, I didn't have any direction anymore. It was just me. And I was, about to start college for the first time in 5 years. I was 23, going back to school since I was 18. And like my mood and everything, I was just very, what's the word? I don't even know how to describe it. I guess numb. I was numb to everything. I had no emotion, no highs, no lows. Nothing could affect me. I was just, numb. Couldn't feel really anything. So after, my family was kind of worried, and I reached out to this thing called the Soldiers Project, where it's a nonprofit and they hook you up with a doctor for free. I didn't go to the VA at first. I was, had all these predispositions about the VA and, all these negative things that you hear. So I didn't even go to the VA at first. I went to the Soldiers Project. Talked to the doctor. They said, all right, you need to go to the VA. You need to tell them about this stuff. Get it documented, get some medication, talk to those doctors. So from the Soldiers Project, went to Laguna Beach, Laguna Hills, VA in Orange County. It's where I started everything, started getting medication, started talking to somebody, to a doctor as well, so psychologist and psychiatrist. Both of those have really, really helped, I've noticed. I try to go once a month, or once every other month, but at least once a month or once every 3-4 weeks. I talk to a doctor who I've been seeing for probably a year, over a year. I've been seeing the same one now. And I've realized, from talking and from all that once I got out in 2015, I started making these videos and putting a lot of effort into this stuff. And it's really freaking helped me. You guys can, I'm sure if you look back in my videos before, just 2 years ago even, if you look at my videos from 2012, 13, 14, and then just the past couple months, you can see how much it's helped and how much I'm so much freaking happier. I know I'm a little serious. This is, a serious video. I'm not going to be all crazy and hyper, but I have not different personalities, but you know, like for example, I hate to use Robin Williams, but he was the most happiest person, right? Most entertaining, funniest person, but he was also very troubled. So you see that with a lot of people in the entertainment type thing, that we use entertaining people and making them laugh and helping them as a way to help us and help myself. So just want to talk to you guys about this and let you know that anyone that's going through stuff or struggling in the Navy, don't be, you know, I should have talked to a chaplain. I could have done a lot of other things, but for me, I found my own solace in swimming, right? I know that sounds kind of silly, but swimming freaking helped me. That got me through what I was struggling with. And then once I got out, you know, I've been talking to people, been on and off different medication, and I'm doing great. You know, I have an awesome wife that I love and succeeding pretty well, about to graduate college in the fall. So, you know, I'm a Navy veteran, about to get my degree, served honorably for 4 years, served in the active reserves 1 year after that. Got a great discharge RE/R1 code, got an EP eval, got a NAM getting out, Navy Achievement Medal. So everything was good. But I just want to let you know, like, you never know who's going through stuff. You never know who's suffering. So people out there that are struggling, you know, you're not alone. Please, you know, if you find a way to help yourself, then do that, like I did with swimming. But definitely, you know, talk to the chaplain. You don't have to go to medical right away. At least talk to your Navy chaplain, because they're a great freaking resource. So that's it, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Brand new videos every day. This is me, you know. I'm here. What up, fam? We're good. We're good. Everything's good. And just telling this story, it's really hard for me. It was really hard to relive that stuff and think about all this stuff I went through. So that's why I'm a little somber, but everything is bueno. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, poppies? See ya.